Yo, what up guys, Travic here, and today I want to talk about Breach. More importantly, I want to talk about Breach and Settlers 2. Now, if you've been playing Settlers 2 and you've been chasing your chaos, or you're just looking for something a little bit different, well, let's talk Breach and see how you feel. Now, for me personally, I've been playing my Lightning Strike Trickster. I've been having an absolute blast, and my character needed a very big important upgrade, and that upgrade, if you know anything about Lightning Strike Trickster, was Voice of the Storm. Voice of the Storm at the time of recording to just price out this amulet is 9 divs. Yesterday when I went to go buy my Voice of the Storm, they were 12, 13, 14 divs, and there's not many of them on the market. This amulet is extremely expensive. It sells right away, and you can actually tell that very few people are farming it, and you can actually see on the trade site who specifically is target farming Breach and this amulet. Now, a lot of people are playing Lightning Strike. A lot of people need this amulet. It's used for a variety of builds, and you can see it even goes as high as 18 divs as of an hour ago while recording. This amulet is extremely target farmable, not the most common drop, but it is something that you can make some money doing. I self-farmed my own amulet and I made some divines in the process. Now, realistically, the best way to get the amulet is to go do a fun strategy that you like, go make a bunch of divines and then go buy the amulet. But if you're looking for a way to make experience or get your character experience and get a bunch of money while you're at it, Breach might be the play for you. Now, what we're going to be doing when we target Breach is we're going to be farming Breach zones, and we're going to be attempting to farm Breach uniques. Many of the Breach uniques aren't worth a whole lot. Only really the amulet is worth a whole lot outside of the Chayula stuff. Now, if we look, we could see the Zoth Breach Stone, not very expensive, about 30, 40, 50 C. The Toll Breach Stone, once again, 30, 40 C, not too expensive. But if we come over here to Faustus and we pop in the Esh Breach Stone and we just take a look, these Esh Breach Stones easily very quickly get up to 60, 70, 80, 90, or 100 C. And when I was farming mine yesterday, they were very, very, very expensive. Outside of the Esh Breachstone being expensive, if we were to look up just very basically the Chayula Breachstone, this one easily hits 200 C a Breachstone. Now, I don't know if people have just forgotten, but farming Breachstones is pretty simple, and you can walk out of a map easily with 1, 2, 3, sometimes even 4 full Breachstones if you target farm it properly. And today we're going to talk about how to do that. Now, I have an Atlas tree set up for this that I was working with, and my Atlas tree is very simple. It's Breach. It's Breach.node. You can't go wrong. It is all the major Breach nodes. And essentially what we're trying to do with our Breach is we're trying to increase the amount of splinters that we're dropping so that we can target farm Breach zones to either run ourselves for experience or the Breach uniques, or to sell to other players. Now, this Atlas tree, you see, we take all of the Breach nodes, and down here, we get 20% chance to contain a Breach. We get 3 additional rare monsters and magic monsters, and this is important because those can drop Breach uniques. We come on up over here to this wheel. We have the chance for Esh Ula hand, or the hand of Esht Ula. And this is another Breach boss that can spawn. This guy can like drop everything. This is really cool, really interesting. Our Breach boss is defeated and have a chance to drop an entire full Breach zone, and this happens quite often. The chance to get Flawless, a little bit more rare, a little bit harder to do, but you can just get plenty of full Breach zones just from killing Breach bosses. You have a chance for your maps to contain a whole metric ton of breaches. I've actually had one of my maps contain the extra 10 breaches. It is completely bonkers and crazy. Over here, your Breach boss class hand in your maps have a 4% chance to spawn a boss. I have done maps and have opened a Breach and have had as many as 3 bosses pop out, and it has been absolutely crazy. And up here, this one gives you the big money maker. This one says Breaches in your map have a 20% increased monster density. Breach monsters in your map have 50% increased chance to drop a Breach unique item. This, paired with everything else and a ton of extra monsters, gives us that really good chance accidentally to get a bunch of really cool Breach items. And, you know, I've been target farming very specifically Esh items, and I've gotten just like a ton of claws randomly, a ton of shields, and, you know, the Breach uniques are dropping. Now, this isn't to say that you're going to go farm Esh and immediately drop the necklace, but this is to say that you have the opportunity while farming for Breach zones and experience to hit pretty cool jackpot items. Now, there are 2 more Breach things that we have to talk about in terms of the Atlas tree, and there's these nodes down here. This one says breaches in your maps open and close 10% faster, and this one says breaches in your maps open and close 30% slower. Depending on if your character is very slow or very fast and snappy, these might work well adjusted to what you're playing. If I had more gear and my character's a little bit faster and blew up the entire screen, I'd probably take this one just to make my maps go a little bit quicker and a little bit smoother and just kind of blitz my way through things. And the last big thing we need to talk about is the breach wheel down here. Now, currently, my wheel is set to breaches in your maps have an 85% chance to belong to Esh, and this is specifically because I was target farming the amulet. If you're like me and you want the amulet, or you're playing solo self-found, you don't want to pay 14 divs or 12 divs or 10 divs for the amulet, this is how I did it. I took these nodes. I saw Esh all the time. I have an insane abundance of Esh breach stones, and it ended up working out really well. If you don't want to farm Esh and you want just raw currency, and the best way to just like make raw currency is to put your points in like this so that they belong to Chayula. As far as the rest of your points go and what you want to do and how you want to handle, you know, your breach maps and so forth and so on, the points are essentially up to you. I originally put in some essences so that I was doing some quick little essence farming while doing breach. I'm now making my way towards beyond so that I can do a little beyond farming. I still have some points to play with, but I'll give you an atlas tree down below that'll give you all of this information and put it all nice and neat for you, and then you can play around with it as you please. Now, the only major thing that you need to take while doing this are the breach nodes. Everything else that you take is extra, and you probably should just tailor the tree to what you want. Do you want more Scarabs? Do you want just, you know, more essence? Do you want to do June while you're at it? Do you want to tie in ritual? Do you want to tie in expedition? You should pair breach with what you want to do. And me personally, I'm going to be pairing it with beyond and a little bit of essence. If I can't fit in the essence and the beyond, I will cut the essence, put the beyond in, and then I'll work my way towards map effect modifiers. And like I said, I'll give you a nice little tree of how I would do it down below, but please alter it to your liking. Just remember, the main important thing is you want to make sure that you have the breach nodes, because they're the most important thing of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. Now, as far as the map goes, I farmed my Voices on the Storm on a tier 6 map. I actually did all of my farming on Strand, and in testing, it looks like if you could do red maps, you might get more breach stones than if you were to do yellow maps. But I mean, all in all, it was still relatively the same. I just took my maps, I alked them to make sure that I can run them and there wasn't anything too crazy on them, and I ran my maps. I actually paired them with a couple of Scarabs, and I think the Scarabs in our case are really good. You can actually see I have an abundance of breach stones. I had double or triple the amount of these. I've been running them, and I've been getting, you know, my amulet. Now, in terms of Scarabs, you're going to want to use this Scarab right here. Area contains 2 additional breaches. You can use this up to 5 times. So you can have 5 of these in there, and this would give you an extra 10 breaches, but we're actually going to only use 4 of these. And the reason that we're using 4 of these is this Scarab here always guarantees us a breach lord. And because the breach lords are our money maker, we want to make sure we have as many breach lords as possible inside of a map. So we're going to have 2, 4, 6, 8 plus 1 off the tree gives us 9. We're going to come down here. We're going to click breach. We're going to get 10, 11, 12. We're going to have 12 breach bosses inside of every map. And we're going to kill a ton of mobs. We're going to get a ton of splinters. And we're just going to have multiples of opportunities, both from the rares and the uniques, to see full breach stones, to see items, to get experience, and then just pretty much live our best life. Now, in terms of what map you should be doing, I was doing this on any tier 6 that I had that I was really nice, wide open space. Ideally, you want to just have a ton of room. So Dunes is really good. There was another one that was connected to Dunes that was really good. I'm trying to think of the name of it. Dark Forest was like, Vault was pretty bad. Cage was pretty bad. Coral Ruins is whatever. Dunes was really good. Scriptorium was whatever. Tropical Island is very good. Bog is okay. There was another one. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. It's driving me nuts right now. But pretty much any wide open map is going to be really, really, really good. In Settlers 1, when I had an abundance of maps, I completely and only ran Dunes. Dunes was the bread and butter for this. Dunes made everything super simple, super easy, super quick. And we'll actually even do one of those now to just showcase the difference inside the maps. So we're going to make sure that we can run a map that we can run, and we're going to put on our Scarabs, and we're just going to take a look at how it goes. So we put in our strand map, we do this, we come over here to breach, we make sure that we're on the right atlas tree, and then we pop in our map. Now, if your character can't do the essences, just remove them. I understand they're bulky. I understand they're big and tanky. I understand that they're a pain. But if you're playing a character like mine, or you're playing a character that can hit the entire screen and you just don't have to worry, you should be fine. Now you see right away, we open this and we're just going to be looking for the boss. He spawned over here. We're going to come over here. We're going to kill Toll right away. We're going to get some splinters. We don't need to click on the open hands. They will open for us. And we just run around and we make sure that we kill a bunch of the mobs. And we're pretty much just hoping to drop a full breach zone. Unfortunately, we missed. You pick up a couple of splinters and you go next. The same thing is there are other Scarabs that will give you more splinters. There are other Scarabs that will give you more breach hands. There are other Scarabs that will just give you more of everything, but we're not really taking and spending all of those because we're trying to maximize the amount of profit, and we also want to keep it as simple as possible. We don't really want to like do a whole ton of maps where we have to get 14 different Scarabs and prep and roll and do all that jazz. We want to keep everything relatively simple. And it's pretty easy to just like throw in a bunch of the same Scarabs and not really have to worry. Now you see we've gotten a little unlucky so far. We've seen Zoth twice, we've seen Toll once, but we're really right now looking, since we respec for that Chayula, we're really looking for that Chayula breach to, pretty much pop out and give us all those mobs. Ideally though, Chayula is the best bet. But if we get any of the breach bosses and we get any of the breach zones, we have, we're in the up and up. Essentially, if you get all of the breach zones, you can run invitations with the breach zones, or you can sell them, or you can farm mavens with them. So getting a bunch of extra breach zones isn't the worst thing in the world. The only bad side to doing this is if you do certain map layouts, like indoor maps, you might not get a lot of room to be able to kill all the breaches. Even here on Strand, right? Like, it's a nice little wide open area, but you still lose, depending on where the hands spawn, you do lose some room. Oh, we gotta find the boss on this one. Oh, there he is. And nice. Now, overall, I like it. I think the farm is really good. Will it make you fist the handfuls of tons of money? Probably not. Will it get you levels? Will it get you a good consistent currency? Will it get you some loot? Will it get you breach rings? Abso-positively, without a doubt. Especially if you're farming this in high tier red maps. If you're farming this in something like tier 16 red maps, tier 14 red maps, you're going to want to be making sure too that you're picking up those breach rings, because those breach rings that are dropping can give you those grasping mail armors, and those can be a pretty penny on top of all of your income. Even in Settlers 2 right now, people are still buying grasping mails to recombinate, and just overcap fire, overcap cold, all of those global defenses are still worth a pretty penny to a lot of players, and you can make pretty good money. The big downside to breach, and the one thing that somebody's going to be at this stage in the video going, I don't want to do that, the big downside to breach is it will be a lot of clicking. I won't downplay that at all. You see right away, I still have a lot of individual splinters showing up on my loot filter. I'm still picking up all of these splinters. I want to run the breaches. I want to try to get experience. I want to push my character to 99 or 100. I need all the levels that I can get. And picking up all those splinters, to some people is going to be a pain. Some people are just not going to want to do it. They're going to have a hard time with it. They're not really going to want to spend the time to do it. And I fully understand that it's not for everybody. In an ideal world, no loot would drop from breach, and then when the breach closed, it would be like an Alva explosion, and all of the loot would essentially just pop out of this breach, and it would be a lot better. But overall, I think it's a really simple, fun strategy. It is really down to earth. There is a ton of mobs to kill with the high potential of dropping accidental breach zones. The only downside, the only real downside is if you're not playing a good build that has really good clear, you're going to have a little bit of a harder time. This strategy is the ideal. I have a headhunter and I'm gonna go in build and I'm gonna farm the world build. So eventually, like if you're like a headhunter guy or a bow Andy, this is probably a really good farm for you. But, you know, lastly, the only big downside, like I said, is you're going to have to run around. You're going to have to click a bunch of the breach zones. And, you know, it becomes, you know, to some people, a little bit of a pain. Unfortunately, we got a little unlucky here. We didn't see the Chayula in this one at all. But, you know, we still saw a lot of breaches. If we look at our map over here, we had 11 additional breaches. I think one of our breaches didn't actually get to spawn in due to sizing constraints on this map. But we're going to take a look at dunes in a second, and you should be able to see a nice little difference. You see, we also get some scarabs, we're getting some maps, and it's just working out really well. Now, if you're doing this farm and you can't do red maps and you need to do lower tier maps, the way to farm lower tier maps is to just take out your watch stones. You see right now, or my void stones, you see right now, I only have one void stone in. This will allow me to drop my tier 6 maps. But if you're looking to farm red tier maps or tier 16 maps, you just make sure that you put all of your void stones back in, and you should be fine. Now, also what's really cool too is if you're chasing the lantern, you can pair this really nice to with whatever lantern mod that you're chasing on whatever map you're chasing. Just make sure that whatever map you're farming is a nice wide open space, because you really don't want to constrict yourself to, you know, a tiny tight area and not be able to take maximum benefit of all of the breach stuff. Okay, so we grab the scouting report. I still need those. We come over here, we grab all this, take a look. We got some flesh, some embers. Absolutely wonderful. And for those of you who saying this is too much clicking, this is too much loot, then this is probably not the farm for you. But this is something that I've been doing. This is something that I have been enjoying. I think farming breach, to me, every single league is something that I really enjoy. And, you know, I want to make sure that I'm sharing what I'm doing, you know, for cool little things that you might not have tried or you're thinking about trying. And you see, unfortunately, in this one, we didn't get a whole lot of splinters. We got almost 2 full sets, or, you know, 2 1/4 sets here. And sometimes they run bad. Sometimes you don't get all of the loot, and we have to leave in these little sample sizes because you have to know what you're getting yourself into. If I left in every single perfect map every single time, then it would be, you know, it wouldn't be an accurate demonstration of what it is that you can farm. But as you do this, you'll start to get more and more splinters. You'll start to see more and more loot. And the bigger your map is, with the more pack size and the more quantity and the more everything, the more splinters, the more loot that you'll see. And the more mobs that you're able to kill inside of a breach, and the more you're able to utilize all of that, the better it'll be. Especially if you start to pair in things with it, like deli, like endless deli would be absolutely bonkers, because you would get the bonus from deli and you would see more loot, and there'd be more quantity on your map. And if you have the map effect modifiers, you would get more loot and more quantity on your map. And you see right away, just on an huge wide open map like this, we are able to take way more advantage of the space. We're getting more monsters that are spawning in. We're able to run around a little bit better. We can get the hands a little bit better. We see the boss right away. There's Tull again. We kill him. There's a stack of 12 splinters over there. Just absolutely positively wonderful. Okay, come over here, kill all these. I actually hope breach is in POE 2. I know not many people enjoy this mechanic, but this is definitely one of the few. Oh, there's a Chayula one. There's Chayula right there. Drops. Oh, there's 2 more. Nice, dude. There we go. See, that breach had 3 in there. And this is what I'm talking about. Sometimes you just get multiple bosses and you just, you know, you're just playing the odds, right? You just keep going until you hit, and it works out wonderfully sometimes. Now, like I said, if you use some of the other scarabs and you want to juice this a little bit more than essentially an Al can go, you can get more splinters, you can get more breach stones, you could probably push more bosses, but we're really not looking into doing that. We want to keep this simple. We want to keep this down to earth. We don't want to try to chase 40, 50 different scarabs and all kinds of different things. And, you know, we just want to blast, man. We just want to kill some mobs and have a good time. I will say, though, I do think Dunes is probably the best map for this, and I really recommend, if you're going to do it, to run this on Dunes. Yeah, see, this is just looking infinitely better already. Oh, nice. We got that one. Okay. And we check here. We got 11 breaches again. Nice. Looks good. Okay. Clearing all around. Not have to worry about anything. especially if you could do this on tier 16 maps. You'll get access to, you know, tier 17 maps. You'll get invitations. There's so many more reasons to do this on 16s if you can do them. But at the time when I first started doing this, I wasn't able to do this on tier 16s because I really needed the necklace to push my damage into the next level. So I was doing it on 6s, and it was so good and so powerful. And you see I'm level 95 now. My experience is moving. There's very little fear of dying. And it's just a very good overall farm that you can't go wrong with, honestly. You just really can't go wrong. Now, make sure you are picking up these breach rings. You want to be selling these breach rings. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, essentially, if you are to pick up breach rings and you are to sell them. Oh, look, a whole full breach stone. Nice, dude. Easy money. Unfortunately, it was tall. Not one of the good ones. But back to breach rings. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll pull up the trade site in a second and I'll showcase to you what a breach stone looks like, or what the breach armor looks like, and essentially what you do. But you want to make sure that you are indeed picking up these breach rings and that you are keeping them and using them for the vendor recipe. They are, oh, look, another whole breach stone. Let's go, boys. Hell yeah, dude. Awesome. I love it, dude. Oh, it's so good. Why is it so many toll bosses, sir? Game, please. I'm trying to show that you can get other cool ones. Can you believe it? There's always the wrong boss, man. But that's RNG at its finest. Sometimes you hit and sometimes you just see 18 of the same boss over and over and over. Oh, nice. Ash, perfect. This is the guy that we want. Heck yeah. Oh, look, there's another one. Let's go, dude. Easy. Okay. Come around here, kill all these guys, grab this full breach stone so we have it. Oh, did we miss a whole breach? Oh man, we definitely just missed like a whole breach. All right, come over here, grab this, kill this. There's another breach ring. I'm actually going to change the coloring of the breach rings so that they're easier to see on my loot filter, so that I make sure I don't miss any of them. Okay. Oh, full on the toll breach stone. Let's go, dude. So just in this map, we've gotten, I gotta go pick up the other one. Just in this map, we've gotten 3 full breach stones. That's crazy. I actually don't know where it is. We're gonna have to find it in a second, but we'll deal with, oh, there it is. It's right there. And this is before we pick up everything else. So that's really, really, really cool. This breach stone, 60C, this one 30C, this one 30C. So you're talking about 120C just in breach stones before you pick up everything else. Now, I had mentioned the trade website, and I had mentioned something called a grasping mail. Now, if we come over here and we go to trade and we just look up one of the grasping mail mods, which is global defense, and we just take a quick minute to search, we see that this, whoop, forgot to type in the word grasping mail. We see that this chest plate is 8 divs, 10 divs, and that's simply due to the fact that this mod is on the chest plate. This global defense mod, you see it says of Chayula, is a mod that is local to grasping mails. And to get a grasping mail, you pick up 60 breach rings, and then you vendor the breach rings as a set of 60 to a vendor, and the vendor will sell you an unidentified grasping mail. That grasping mail you identify, and it will have a unique modifier associated to a breach boss, and you can get a wide variety of different things. Global defense, this is a really big one. And then there's other ones like overcapped fire, overcapped cold, overcapped lightning. And usually these ones are pretty expensive too. This one's about 10, 15 divs. There's not a whole lot of these. And these mods are very desirable. They're very highly sought after from other players. Players use them to make their mirror tier armors. And it's just another really good way for you as the player to make extra currency while doing breach. Now, something to keep in mind with these breach rings and making the grasping mails, when you loot the breach rings and you vendor them, ideally all of the rings are the same eye level. So if you're doing tier 16 maps, it'll be really easy for all the rings to be eye level 83. If you're doing lower tier maps and you sneak in a ring that's a lower eye level, so say I was doing this eye level 80 map right now, and I picked up one of these breach rings and I vendored it with a bunch of eye 83 rings, it will take the lowest level of the ring, and that's what the armor will be. So just make sure when you're doing the ring, when you're vendoring the rings, you just make sure that you try to keep them all together. A big question that I get is, what tier or eye level rings should I be vendoring, and you just want to keep it as high as possible. Ideally, you make 83s or better. You know, getting 84, 85, and 86 rings are pretty difficult. So as long as the chest plate is around eye level 83 or better, you should be able to sell it for a very pretty penny. And you see here, this ring's eye level 81, and it's not too shabby. And I think that is majority of everything in this map. This map, pretty good so far. 3 full breach zones, some random other stuff that I'm going to be removing off of my filter as soon as I'm done recording. Because I'm done with some of this smaller stuff, man. But not too bad, especially if you're looking for other smaller currencies. You see a bunch of little currencies drop. You'll see a ton of loot doing this, and you know, you should be able to make yourself a pretty penny, especially if you're struggling for a way to farm currency early. Well, I wouldn't say early because we're pretty deep into this league. Well, not deep, but you know, we're pretty hefty into the league, and it'll just give you a nice little way to make some currency. You see, we've gotten 3 full breach zones. We've gotten a bunch of splinters from all the other bosses, and everything just starts to add up. You want to do these maps fast. You don't want to be taking your time in these maps. You don't want to be yapping like me. You don't want to be spending 8 to 10 minutes in a map. You want to just go in, not yap, not look at loot, not pull up the trade say. You just want to go in and blast your maps. The faster you go into a map, the faster you clear a map, the more maps you'll do per hour, the more maps per hour, the more divine per hour, if that's your kind of thing. But overall, I think, me personally, I enjoy Breach. I think Breach is an insanely fun mechanic. It's something that I highly, highly enjoy. I really, really, really like farming it. I like getting the Breach rings in the higher tier eye levels. I like vendoring them. I like the gamble of identifying the armor. I like seeing all the cool stuff that comes out of these maps. And it's just something that I really enjoy. And on top of that, it's really safe experience. And you can't honestly go wrong with safe experience. It's one of the few ways that I get to, you know, a character to 100 every single league. It's one of the few ways that I level all of my alts every single league. And it's just overall, it's just a really solid mechanic that I think gets overlooked by a lot of players. So yeah, that's my little that's my little spiel. But you see, we're picking up. We've almost got a whole nother set on some of these, and now I can just go run an invitation. I can take the 4 of these. I can set my Atlas to see Maven. I can go do the whole Rhoda. I can get a Maven invitation. That'll give me more splinters, more looks at loot. I can get a Maven fight out of it. I've already farmed 2 Maven fights doing this. I'm almost at my 3rd, and overall, it's just really good. I'm getting some good gold while doing it. Overall, a huge win-win in my book. But I really just wanted to showcase Breach a little bit. I wanted to give you guys some information. Maybe you haven't tried Breach. Maybe Breach is on your radar, and just give you guys something to try out in Settlers 2 that'll give you a little extra money in your pocket. And if you're really keen on farming Voice of the Storm like I was, maybe this will teach you how to do it. But for now, friends, I'm going to get this video out to you guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.